Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to the, what is this, April 10th? JPS Board of Managers meeting. I don't know why that came to my head. That's what the principal in elementary school used to say every morning in the announcement, so it just stuck with me. So welcome. I'll call the meeting to order, and we'll start with Ms. Angela for our opening prayer.
Good afternoon. Let us pray. Gracious God, with hearts of compassion, kindness, humility, and patience, we are grateful. Guide us with clarity of mind, grace of heart, and courage of spirit to walk faithfully in the direction you intend. Please help us work with wisdom, compassion, and respect. Inform our conversations and let our decisions reflect your will while also honoring the communities that we serve. Amen.
Amen. Please join me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we have no citizens wishing to address the board. I'll ask for approval of the minutes from the March 13th meeting. If there's any discussion or changes wish to be made. We've got a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. I don't have much by way of a board chair report. It seems like we were just here the other day, and I feel like I'm here every day, mainly because I'm either here or on the phone every day, but a lot of great things are happening at this hospital. I don't know if y'all I know you all saw the PEC coming up. What a beautiful building, and what a foundation for mental health care in Tarrant County. I'm really excited for that thing to open up, and I know that how beautiful that building is. The care that happens inside of it is so much better, and as as one of the pinnacle pieces to the master facilities plan, it's a really exciting moment for us. And then as we start to see these towers rise, it's a great future for JPS.
It would be good if we could do another tour of full ribbon cutting, since the walls are enclosed now.
I think we can arrange that. In fact, Zelia probably said that we could all help move in furniture while we're at it.
I've already moved from my office.
Okay. We can probably get that set up, because the artwork is being, we can't hang like a picture, and we're not doing like a vinyl, but it's a AI printer actually printing the graphics on the wall. Waterfalls and forest scenes and real calming scenes throughout both sides of the facility. So that may be a cool process to see once they've actually started that, but it's going to be fantastic. I know social media had some pictures went out on Facebook, I know, the other day, of just a sneak peek of the interior finish out. So we can probably get that set up for you, Reverend. Dr. Duncan?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So,
Let's get now.
finally. We no longer have to play this. Okay, wow, we got it to work. April is Volunteer Appreciation Month, and in fact, the popcorn that I see many of you with was actually popped by our volunteer services. As we all know, at JPS, volunteers play a pivotal role in supporting our patients and healthcare teams by providing comfort and compassion. JPS now has nearly 300 volunteers who serve throughout the network in areas such as our patient units, our emergency department, our neonatal intensive care unit, registration, the information desk, and even in our community health clinics. And today we are actually honored to be joined by a few of our volunteers. Colin, can you come forward? Colin Connery has served over 20 years. I think he told me it's been 23 years, hasn't it, Colin? Okay. He's serving in guest services and at the information desk. When asked why he volunteers, Colin responded by stating that he loves serving as a volunteer at JPS because JPS does so much for the community. It's a big thank you from me to give back to the hospital and greet those coming through the front doors. I love working with everyone. They make me feel like part of the JPS volunteer family. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Regina, do you want to come forward? Regina Pointer. Regina is not only a current volunteer, but she actually is a past JPS employee. See what you have to look forward to, Dorothy?
She's serving 2 sentences.
She does. She serves in our oncology unit. You know how critical that is to have volunteers with a smile on their face each time you go there. She also has volunteered in our patient visitor area of the main hospital. So Regina says volunteering at JPS is as rewarding as it is fulfilling. It allows me to make patients feel that they are getting the best treatment with the best professionals. As a former JPS nurse, I knew that one day I would get back to the place where it all started for me so that I could give back. Thank you, Regina. And Connor is probably one of our, come on up, Connor, is probably one of our younger volunteers. He's currently a senior at Terrell Academy. Oh, Dorothy knows Regina. Oh my gosh, I love that. Okay. Wow. Connor is a student volunteer, as I said, who is a senior at Terrell Academy. He began volunteering as a patient visitor, so visiting with a patient, rounding on med-surg units. He is quickly promoted. I didn't even know you can get promoted in volunteer service, but he was quickly promoted to serve in the emergency department. That's an exciting area, isn't it? Yes, at 16 years of age. Connor states, I love volunteering at JPS because we serve such a vast community, and being able to help people when they need it the most is not only an incredible opportunity, but also an honor. All the people we serve have stories and lives of their own, and being able to help them when they are at their lowest is just so important as we continue to impact the lives of the community. This is coming from one of our high school students. So actually, you have a job with us in the future, just to let you know. But thank you, Connor. Thank you. Okay, last but not least, Pax, our comfort dog, with our 2 handlers, Julie Norris and Sue Davis. Pax serves as a member of our K9 Comfort and Pet Volunteer team. He currently serves in our palliative care and patient units, providing comfort to our patients in need. And I want to show you that this is a requirement. We do follow process here, but he actually has a JPS. Colin, I just need to know whether he's completed his CDLs that are required. Thank you so much, Pax, and to our handlers. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You have a gift for all of you? You have a gift for everybody. Max Jr.
Oh, Pax Jr., you guys. I did ask whether they have a comfort dog for the executive team. Our board may not know, but Shannon Fletcher oversees our volunteer program. So really thank you to Shannon. She really has grown our volunteer program. And Kim Pinter also is our executive director of volunteer. Thank you so much. We'd like now to ask the board of managers to take a quick photo with all of our volunteers. So where will that be? Over here? We're going to be over here.
Dorothy, we're going to take a picture. I wish my job was to come around and get petted all night.
We could make that happen, Roger.
Oh, hello, all the people. Where's the tree lady? Where's the tree lady?
I would like to move the PAX comes to everyone.
Every meeting? Second, approved. We don't even need a vote.
Okay, as we all know, every year is the year of the patient, but 2025 we have really put forward as being the year in which we really put our patients at the center of all the work that we do. But we also like to hear from our patients, and I think we attempted this last time, so let's try again to hear from Casey Russell. Let's hear his personal story and how JPS has been there every step of the way with him.
I love my dogs and I love running, and basically that's my life. Started running, I believe in 2002, ran a Cowtown Marathon after someone told me that I should run a marathon because I was having a hard time in life. I'm like, run a marathon? Are you serious? So I tried it and I guess I got hooked. If there's a day that goes by that I don't get out and run, then I feel like something's missing. On Tuesdays, I try and ride my bike. 27 February 2024, coming up behind a couple people and screamed really loud, on your left. They both basically just stopped and turned around and looked at me like deer in headlights. It looked like there was enough room like right in between. I could get like right through them. So I was like, sweet. Went right through them. It was cold. The guy had like a sweatshirt jacket type thing on. Caught my left handlebar. Bam, down I went.
Men and women who run marathon, they can deal with immense pain they put themselves through over the course of that distance. He came in for a apparent complaint of a right hip strain. As soon as I opened the door, you know, this guy is standing up in the room, clearly very athletic. I mean, like typical marathon build, like a slim, slender guy. And he's standing there with a cane.
I mean, I was in so much pain. I mean, it's all like in my right hip.
To have somebody with a hip strain standing there in front of me that is that able to tolerate those types of discomforts, walking with a cane, it just didn't make sense. There was no question like what we were going to do. Like you had to investigate it further.
So then I went and I got 2 MRI images done. And then the doctor called me directly and he said, hey, stop everything you're doing and get off, your feet.
He ended up having multiple different fractures in his pelvis and one in his spine. Whenever you break a bone, you can break them and they can just crack, or they can break and move. And in Casey's specific fractures, he got lucky enough that none of the fractures had moved at all. They had broken, his pelvis had broken in multiple places, his back had broken in one place, but the bones had never shifted. We basically started this process over the course of many months, getting him back to running. That was his goal.
I mean, I remember the first time he walked in, he had some pair of old Brooks running shoes on. I'm like, he might be a runner. I'm thinking in my mind, I'm like, he might be a runner.
We've developed a friendship as much as a patient-doctor relationship. There's also the other side of that, because we kind of bond over not only figuring out his injury, but then also bonded over like a shared interest in running. I remember one of the first things he told me was, I knew I was in the right place when you walked in and I looked at your shoes.
Having someone like that work with me just really gave me so much more excitement and joy about whatever I had to deal with to get back to where I wanted to be, which was on the trails running.
Getting buy-in is huge. And sometimes when you're talking to a patient and you're telling them, like Casey, for example, like, hey man, you're not going to be able to run for months. Like, saying that to somebody, it can be devastating. You ask anybody that does this for a living, whether it's sports or anything else, like, we all want to have a positive impact on the people that we come into contact with every day. To have such a stark difference in somebody from when they came to see you in the beginning to when they end up. And I mean, it was like, there was a visual change in Casey between those two visits. I mean, you could take a before picture when he was in clinic and an after, and you can tell which one he's better in. That's why I do this, right? Like, that's why I wake up every day and I come to work, is not to just see the running athlete, right? It could be like a 70-year-old person with knee arthritis that just wants to start walking the dog again, right? But to be able to take them from a place where they want to get better, where something is ailing them and they need my help or advice to get back, and then to see that actually happen.
First time I've ever dealt with them is a hospital before. Getting a hold of Dr. Young's and everybody at JPS, they really made me want to get back. Just an excellent experience. I would say that I received excellent care at JPS.
Yeah, that's why I do it.
That concludes my report, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. It's amazing that we get occasionally to see highlights of a few of our patient-physician interactions, but there's literally thousands of them that we could do short films on. We could have our own YouTube channel. It's amazing the work that happens here, and that is thanks to all of you and everybody out there for the work that they do. We'll move on now to Medical Executive Staff Committee. Dr. Casey?
Chair, yeah, we have the routine predation activity for the month of April.
Everyone has the candidates in their red folder. Does anybody have any item that needs to be moved off into executive session? Does anybody have any objections? If not, I'll ask for a motion to approve. Got a motion to approve and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Committee reports and action. We'll have the DT Wynn show today. He's going to take care of Finance, Planning, and Investment Committee. Trent's son is the second in whatever event, I don't remember. He's a track star, but he's number 2 in the state. And he is at a track meet this afternoon, and Trent thought he might be able to make it, but he said if he comes in jogging pants, we'll know where he's been. But so we wish his son luck in his meet. But DT, give us Finance, Planning, and Investment, and then Governance, all from March 27th. And we get to hear DT today, the world, for the first time ever. We've got DT live and in person.
Good luck. Anyway, we met on March 27th. including the Master Facility Program update. For that, as you all know, the Medical Home Southwest, the Roy Brooks Center, whatever that is, opened in February. During March, the pharmacy opened, and then the project is now in closeout phase. So, great job there. The PEC continued to progress with an opening slated for later this summer. And then the new parking garage continued to make great progress with an anticipated opening in late spring, summer of 2026. Then we discussed the CFO report, and it was reported that all 4 bond rating agencies have completed their review, and there was no change in the rating. So congratulations. Thank you for your hard work, Rory, and the whole team there. And then we reviewed the February February financial, noting February net income of $40 million for the month, and that is $129 million for the year. The volume continues to be high in the ED surgeries, above budget, as well as the admissions also as well. We received a financial goal noting that all metrics, except for length of stay, are currently at stretch. An aggressive length of stay goal was set, and it is currently meeting threshold at the moment. The committee approved the February unaudited financial report, and then in our committee, we unanimously approved 7 contracts, and it's on the consent agenda for approval today. And one thing to note, just in case some of you guys may not have time to read, there's an extra 3 in there, so it's not 33 million, it's 3 million, rather than 33 million, but if we can approve 33 million, we have 30 million to spend. No. That concludes our report, sir.
Thank you, DT. And we will move on now to reports and updates not requiring report action or approval, and we have Ms. Leah Keene. Oh, did you do governance?
No, not yet.
Oh, well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
You can skip another.
Leah, you can get ready if you want, but we'll do governance real quick.
Well, on governance committee, we met on the same day also as well. Our focus during the meeting was on how JPS is identifying and managing risk, both in compliance and more broadly across the whole organization as well. We heard informative presentation from Collins, our Chief Risk Officer, Compliance Officer, and our legal counsel, General Legal Counsel, Daphne Walker. And these are the key takeaways. Managing organization risk, Colin and Daphne began by giving an overview of how risk is managed across JPS, from clinical, operational concern to financial, strategic, and also technological risk also as well. And here's what stood out for us. Risk includes any potential negative event that could impact patient safety, regulatory compliance, and our operational success. The overarching goal is to identify risk early, manage it proactively, and reduce it across the organization. There are 4 key areas that we highlighted. Quality of improvement, using data and best practice to improve patient outcomes. The information technology, addressing cybersecurity threat. And with the new age, the AI-related risk and security, securing both cloud-based and on-site system also as well. From corporate compliance, making sure we follow all laws, regulation, and internal policies. From the enterprise risk management, the ERM, a structured approach to anticipated risk and protecting organization stability. Some of the key takeaway is risk management is shared responsibility. It's not confined to a single department. There's strong cross-team collaboration across JPS, and then the organization is using advanced tools to improve how incidents are tracked, analyzed, and responded to. From the corporate compliance update, Collins provide updates on current compliance effort, a few area of focus. Information security continue to be top of our mind. The compliance team is monitoring risk associated with new system implementation, including Azure, the MSSP, which is the Managed Security Service Provider, and the Info Enterprise System. The team is also keeping a close eye on potential area of fraud, waste, and abuse, including Epic-based E&M leveling forms. These are tools within our electronic health record system that help provide choose the right billing level of patient visits. When used properly, they ensure accurate coding, but when misused, they can lead to over or underpayment of billing. And then the 99214 billing, for some of you who are not familiar with it, this is a billing code for moderate complex office visit with established patients. It brings a high reimbursement rate, so it's important that it's only used when clinical appropriate. And then the other item is the additional monitoring continue around physician compensation and co-pay collection practices. From the enterprise risk management, Daphne emphasized the importance of leadership, accountability, and risk management. The key message are senior leaders are expected to escalate concern early, not wait for a problem to grow. While risk management happens daily at various levels, ultimate responsibility of JPS risk posture rests with the leadership. So, in summary, the governance committee was encouraged by the structure and proactive approach JPS is taking to manage risk and maintain compliance. We appreciate the thoughtful work being done across the team to ensure the safety, integrity, and long-term stability of the organization. That concludes my report, sir.
Thank you, DT. We'll move on to reports not requiring board action approval, and I just have to tell y'all, when someone walks into a board meeting in green tennis shoe high heels, she means business. So, I've never seen those before, but hey.
I'm all of them.
No, I mean, she can do a lot of things with those shoes, and I think that that's great. So, welcome. This is your first presentation, so.
This is. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and to the fellow members of the board. It's great to see you today. I'm looking forward to sharing some information. What I'm going to do is to give you a quick synopsis of a few things that happened just before my arrival, some of the things that I've been working on since I was privileged to join the team, and then give you a preview of some of the things that we're working on and that is still to come. So as you all know, just before I arrived, the organization hosted the first White Coat Gala. I think there's been a lot of information shared about that, a lot of pictures. It was a great event, and we are already in the planning stages for the 2025 event. Also, just before I arrived, the organization went through a capital campaign feasibility assessment, and that data has been useful for us, and we intend to continue to share it not only amongst ourselves, but with some other folks that we're working on future projects, particularly on strategic planning, which I'll talk about further in a moment. The foundation leadership has been fully transitioned from Shannon Fletcher. I know she is overjoyed, to myself, so we've completed that transition. Everything went smoothly. Shannon is as organized as they come, so that was quite easy for me to step into. So some of the things that we have been working on is, initially, my first several weeks and couple of months have been spent with meeting with different members of the leadership team to understand a little bit more about their involvement and engagement with the foundation, what some things that they think that are going very well, things that may need a little bit of tightening up, where the opportunities lie for us to improve. And so it's been a very great relationship and partnership, and people have been incredibly forthcoming with the information that they've shared, and it's helping us to formulate how we organize ourselves as a team. So some new things that are happening is that we are able to participate in some of the internal committees and getting our information from the foundation included in departmental newsletters as well. So the more that we can get the information pushed out, the more people that even know that we exist. You would be surprised to know the number of people that don't know the purpose of the foundation, and so we really have to take great effort to be sure that we're educating our own team members before we even start getting out into the community so that everybody understands who we are, what we do, and why we're here. We also have started the strategic planning process. So we are working with a third party, MGale Associates, and they are helping us to organize ourselves so that we can have a very clear roadmap that is aligned with with the district. And so we are in the very initial stages of that. We've had 2 meetings. One was just a kickoff to do introductions amongst the teams, and the second was to start getting a list of names of individuals that they will interview to get some input. I recognize that some of you may have been interviewed for the CCS feasibility study. If you participated in that, you will not be asked to do this again. We have that data, and it's still relatively fresh, but there are a few folks that I think should be added. And we have some new executives as well as some people within community that I think would be important for us to hear from, so we'll be doing that as well. Something else that's coming up is what we are right now just calling JPS Next, because we don't have an official name, but that may stick, and that is for us to start engaging with younger up-and-coming leaders within community so that we can start building a pipeline of leadership to serve long-term, whether on our board, on different committees, to help us be additional advocates and ambassadors out in the community. We've had a member of our team that has met with several folks within community to start putting together a small group of people who have pretty decent circles of influence that can help us organize this in a way that is going to help us to do just that, build that pipeline. So more to come on that, and if you want to be part of the Emerging Leaders Group, please let me know. There's no age restriction on it. Immersion and mission means just that we are looking to bring people into the hospital and get them fully immersed in our mission. We have a working name for that, but I'm not going to share it with you just yet because we haven't taken it through all of the approval processes, but I'm extremely excited about it. Dawn Fernald is the one that came up with it, and we're really looking forward to it. And if you've been on the boards for other healthcare associations or other large complex organizations, what they tend to do is to bring people from community inside to spend a full day, sometimes a day and a half, going from department to department, visiting with patients, visiting with department heads, so that we can fully immerse them in what happens here day to day. So we are in the process of putting that together, and stay tuned. You will likely be the first group that we will take through so that we can maybe work out some of the kinks with people that are friendly to us before we start inviting folks within community. Interestingly enough, I did this years ago with Cook Children's, and they're having an alumni event for all of the people that have done it over the years. That's this evening that I'll be able to attend, so I'm looking forward to that and to bringing some of that same, just it helps to build incredible goodwill within community, and so I'm really looking forward to kicking that off. And then the next thing that's very exciting is a new launch of a virtual engagement officer. And so I'm going to let our virtual engagement officer introduce herself to you. She's a full member of the team. And let's see if I can get her to say hello to you.
I'm Jasmine, a virtual engagement officer at JPS Foundation, powered entirely by artificial intelligence. I'm being developed through an innovative partnership between the JPS Foundation and GIVSY's version 2 R&D lab to create the world's first autonomous engagement officer. I'm honored to connect with you and share how your support makes a meaningful difference. The JPS Foundation is dedicated to ensuring that every patient, every family, and every healthcare provider at JPS Health Network has the resources they need to thrive. By engaging with me, you're not only supporting the JPS Foundation's pioneering leadership in AI for social good, you're also supporting an innovation that will empower all nonprofits whose missions are changing the world.
So Jasmine joined our team late last week, and she has been introducing herself by way of email and text messages to members of the team, and soon she will be introducing herself to you. I've got some forms here for you that I will leave that I'll leave with you before I finish, so that you can get your updates from Jasmine. What's really interesting about Jasmine is as an AI member of our team, she is able to engage with about 1,000 individuals, whereas each of our development officers is really managing a portfolio. An ideal size is a maximum of 150. And so she will give us the ability to reach more deeply and more frequently into, particularly on the stewardship side, once somebody does make a contribution, that they hear from us and they get updates so that they know clearly and in a timely fashion how their dollars are being invested back into the organization. And so we're really excited about this. We learned about it through some of our other healthcare systems, and Parkland has been using this for about, I guess they're going on 6 or 7 months now, with great success. And we are in the second cohort. The first cohort included about 14 organizations, primarily higher ed, and I think there were a couple of hospitals that were included. And within about a 4.5 month period of time, collectively they had raised over $500,000 from Jasmine's engagements. So it helps you to keep in touch and help people becoming lapsed, and so that you're current, but also it helps you re-engage people who have lapsed to bring them back into the fold. So we'll be able to provide reports on not only the number of people that she engages with, but what the results are of that engagement with each of them. So we're pretty excited to be among the first to introduce this technology. So ultimately, what she's going to be able to do is to handle donor engagement fully independently, with an understanding of when to hand off to an actual person, a live person, a non-AI person on our team. So she is not there to replace any person. She is there to augment and supplement the work that we're able to do. Some of the things that she's able to do include not only just the introductions, but to advance messaging on Giving Day solicitations, able to give some updates, as I mentioned before. She's able to converse in multiple languages, and in the future, we hope to have some help from Jasmine with development of our major gift pipeline and other types of things. So we're looking forward. She reaches out primarily through email and text messages, and soon we'll be able to get some robotic handwritten thank you notes from her. So stay tuned. You don't like it? Does it creep you out? So yeah, it's so funny. There are two schools of thought. There are some people who are like, this is so, like, I want a person. And there are others who are like, this is actually pretty cool. So, yeah, so.
I mean, is that why we bought that surgery robot last month? I mean, against this.
No.
Surgery patients are gonna get rid of.
Yep, so. Another thing I wanted to share was just to give you a breakdown currently of how the funds are raised within the organization. And so you can see that a majority of the funding that we receive comes from, the grants are non-clinical, so these are family foundations, individuals, that kind of thing. So that's what makes up that grants. And then and when I say individuals, so individual family foundations and things like that, but also some of the larger foundations, primarily here locally, but there are a couple that are outside of the area, but the majority of them right now are local. The individuals, 17%, is something that we need to grow substantially. Right now, the primarily portion of that individual slice is made up of employees, and we need to get that so that there's a better balance between employees and our external community that is, I'm sure, eager to get involved with us. And then you can see how the other breakdown is. Sure. Mm-hmm. That is primarily car seats and things that go for women's services, so we rarely actually have enough. It's been interesting to see when I look at the numbers over the past several years, that's grown significantly, and it's because the value of a car seat is very, very high, and we receive a tremendous number of car seats. So it's we do not accept gently used clothing or things of that nature. We have things that are new that we're able to distribute immediately to patients. I share your concern. Just to give you a sneak peek of what's coming up next, as I mentioned, with the strategic planning, there will be an opportunity for stakeholder engagement. We also have a couple of small group events that are coming up. and we'll be planning those. One is happening later on this month, but we will do some of those probably about once a quarter. We like the small group awareness building opportunity. These are times that we are not asking for money. Generally, these people have not given to us before. They don't necessarily understand all of the things that we do. They don't understand how we're resourced, and so we need to be sure that they're educated on what the needs are, why they exist, and then from there we'll continue to cultivation and move them along the pipeline to eventually move into a donor. We'll be doing some facility tours, both before we have some of the buildings that are officially online, particularly PEC coming up here soon. We will be eventually doing a full assessment of our CRM. Right now, my assessment of our database, it's one that's typical and common throughout the nonprofit sector, but is not being maximized. Part of it is because it's a large company that bought a bunch of smaller companies, and I don't particularly feel like they've done a good job of making it a seamless process for entering information, and as a result, our data is not timely and not something that I can make a lot of hard and fast decisions on because of the inconsistency of how the team enters it. That we do have a contract for a couple of years, but obviously this takes a long time to review what else is out there, to evaluate whether or not it's going to work for our needs, as well as to speak to some of the other systems that we have internally. So we'll start on that process, but it'll probably take, the last time I did this, it took about 18 months to actually go through the entire process. So that gives us time, but we won't be butting up against an expiration of the system that we have. So we're going to buckle down. We've already done some training with the team, and we'll do another training session to be sure that we're actually getting information included in a timely fashion.
What's the CRM?
It's called Razor's Edge, and that's pretty common. But there are some, there's one company that's made up of executives, former executives from Razor's Edge, that felt like they could build a better tool. One of our counterparts, actually down in San Antonio, they're using it. There's another one that's affiliated with with Jasmine's company. So there's several that I think that we need to be looking at to compare side by side what we have and see what else is new from a technology's perspective out there.
That CRM is critical for y'all's infrastructure. I mean, it's the basis, and I want to make sure, just as a note, that they're all a little bit different and they all have their own quirks. And 90% of that is usually because they weren't trained on how to use it properly. So
Yep.
If that means we got to pour more money into training and do it quickly, because that CRM for a foundation, especially with what we want the foundation to do, is a must.
Yeah, it makes or breaks, and you really cannot adequately plan because you're not looking at data that is that you have confidence in. And so you're exactly right. So that is definitely a priority for us to be sure that we get something that we use. But in the meantime, as I mentioned, we'll continue to do training on the team to use what we have until we identify whether or not we make a switch. White Coat Gala, more to come on that. We're getting close to identifying a location, and once we have a contract, I'll let you know. It's going to be, again, in October, and once we have that all nailed down, the save the dates will be going on your calendars very quickly. The other thing that we need to be doing is reviewing and updating, and in some instances creating governing and policy documents. We don't have a naming policy. We need to update our gift acceptance policy. We don't have a good process on donor recognition. Our bylaws need some updates, so we just need to do some infrastructure repairs. Again, it's just some foundational things to get our house in order before we go out, guns ablaze into the community saying we're here, we're ready for you, because in some instances, accepting certain gifts might be a challenge because we don't have it appropriately documented in our gift acceptance policy. So we are doing that. And then last but not least, I will invite the Board of Managers to join the Foundation Board in becoming donors. The Foundation Board, we have 100% giving there. Our goal is 100% giving with this board as well as our executives, and so the Foundation Board is leading the way right now. I have pledge forms here for you, as I mentioned. I will leave them with each of you, and with that, I will be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Anybody have any questions for Leah? Amanda?
Thank you. Thank you.
Leah, I've got a question.
Yes.
And it may be more directed to Dr. Duncan, but you've been here for a very small amount of time, and you've done a tremendous amount of work, and obviously there's a lot of work still to do. But this board needs to come to the foundation, and should have done it 2 years ago, with we need you to raise $150 million, $50 million, $800 million, whatever that number is. And we need to give you the direction to go raise it. At what point can we tell you we need this amount of money for the master facilities plan?
We're probably a few months away, so I'll give you some insight on some of the things that are happening right now. I'm working with members of the team, with Jill and her team, as well as we'll be getting with Rory, just to understand what the bond is covering, what is not covered, so that I'm clear on what actually I am allowed to raise funds for. Then I will have a better idea of what that number ought to look like. The other thing is that we are reorganizing our team to get ourselves strengthened a little bit more so that we have the right talent and the right seats to actually go out that have the fundamental understanding of how to do this. So we're closer. Obviously, as you said, I haven't been here very long, but we do have some information here already. We've just got to get our team organized better and allow me to do a little bit of analysis on what is uncovered and what I'm able to raise funds for, and then I'll be able to share my recommendation on a number.
I would love around budget time, even if it's October, even if it's after budget, but my goal as chair has always been leaving knowing that the bond project is fully funded. Now, I know it may cost more because of tariffs and inflation and whatever, but if I would sleep well knowing that we have this $2.2 billion project, quote unquote, paid for.
Yep.
And I don't want to say a big chunk of that, but some percentage of that will be what the foundation, we would ask the foundation to provide. And I would love if we had a goal, certainly by the end of the year.
Yeah, that's absolutely doable. And the other thing that I will do is to ask each of you, you should expect to hear from my assistant to set up some time just individually with each of you, because we do need to better understand about the relationships that you all have, that you would be willing to help us to make introductions, and we can share a little bit of what the plans look like and get your advice and guidance on some of that. So, but that timeline is absolutely doable, and we don't have, I don't have any problem with that.
Thank you very much.
You bet.
Dr. Elliott, how about the GME Annual Institutional Review?
Yes. Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's good to see you, and thank you for the opportunity to be here again to present our annual institutional review. This is part of also our major accreditation body. The ACGME requires us to make sure that we present to our governing body an annual institutional review, mostly focused on our graduate medical education activities here. So thank you for this opportunity to do this. All right. Let's see. Are we ready to go? Okay. All right. So as a reminder, in terms of our academic footprint and being a teaching institution and educational institution, the areas that we focus on primarily for medical education are our undergraduate medical education. Those are those that are in medical school. Graduate medical education are our residents, and then continuing medical education, supporting our practicing physicians and team as they continue lifelong learning. The areas that also support that we also oversee are partnerships in the medical library, but also our research teams, and also, of course, well-being. And so those are the aspects that our accrediting body looks to do that. But we also have additional educational areas that I'll highlight in one slide area where we do have students come through our doors with nursing, allied health, pharmacy, including our medical students. But this primarily will focus first on our graduate medical education. So a few wins and just a few highlights, just to say. And just to be clear, we're going to be focusing mostly on FY24, but there are some things I'll talk about that are ongoing right now for FY25 if you have any questions around that. So last year we had 2 successful site visits that we were a part of. The Accrediting Council for Graduate Medical Education came and finally, after we had initial accreditation establishing our child and adolescent psychiatry program, which is the only one here in Tarrant County and a real win for our community here, came and did that. And we got our letter just recently and they did great. Didn't find any findings and they're just doing fantastic. So I want to thank Dr. Colon and Dr. Oliphant, Dr. DeMoss, and the Zelia and the whole behavioral health team for that support there in partnership. We also had a visit from CODA, that's the Council of Dentistry there, and so we have an oncologic fellowship in partnership with our oral maxillofacial surgery team here, and the oncologic oral maxillofacial surgery received initial accreditation there, and doing very well there too. We also are very excited that we continue to be awarded state expansion grants. This has allowed us to expand several of our programs here at JPS with these state grants, particularly focused on graduate medical education and these expansion grants. And so they have allowed us to expand since FY18, FY19 to currently to be able to have more residents here. And so in emergency medicine, we've had the opportunity to expand that program from a few years back now and continue to support a few of those resident FTEs, family medicine, psychiatry also, child and adolescent psychiatry, and we also have OBGYN now has an expanded grant too, so we've been able to expand that, and that's been very helpful for us. Yes?
Does these grants continue the expansion you've had in the past, or are they further expanding?
So these are actually, we have to apply for them every biennium. So they allow us, so each time we actually have allowed to be able to expand even further. So we've expanded probably about since over the last 8 years or so by about 25% or so. So they'll help us in terms of continuing the expansion, but also adding new slots too as we look forward.
So for OB-GYN, we were at 5 per class?
So at OB-GYN, we were actually 4 per class, and now we're 5 per class. Yes, yes, yes. And so that's been great. And then also in terms of psychiatry, we expanded. When we first started psychiatry many years ago, we were at 6 per class. Now we're at 10 per class. But that's also been to not only the GME expansion grants, we're also excited about the workforce expansion grants through the child and psychiatry. So the CPW grants through the consortium that came out a couple years ago with the state legislator continuing that. And so we've been a recipient of doing that work that supports our residency training too. And also that was instrumental in helping us to start our child and adolescent psychiatry program.
And in the future, if we didn't receive these grants,
Mm-hmm.
So
what we would do is look for alternatives to be able to support that. We do always do an ongoing assessment to see how they're doing. The good thing is that when we expand them, they also help to add to departmental growth, right, and departmental patient care and revenue. So that's also part of our strategy anytime we look at expanding to ensure that we're also seeing more expansion of those services for our patients and, of course, that financial stability there. But we'll always assess that to see if they're sustainable with that model still, or do we need to look for alternative funding sources. The other thing that we always look at, too, besides those state GME grants, we look at all grants, and so we look at federal grants, too, to see if there's opportunity to be able to utilize those. And we also have some other opportunities, for instance, with CMS. So CMS actually opened up a few cycles with their Consolidated Appropriations Act from a few years ago to be able to do some expansion of our cap, and so our budgeted FTEs per CMS. That's how we get our direct medical education dollars and indirect medical education dollars. And we were lucky even a couple years ago to get some expanded IME, indirect medical education dollars for our child and adolescent psychiatry program because we live in a mental health shortage area. So to your point, we always look, I'm a person that always looks at potential funding. We've grown significantly, probably even since probably 8 years, about over 200% increase in our funding.
I love the growth. I'm just concerned about sustainability.
Sure.
Especially these state grants. Are they designed to just kind of be starter grants, or?
No, they're designed to really be sustained. And even this year in the legislative session, there's an increase ask, and it's already moved from the Senate and the House into the same, even an increase to make sure we're sustaining. And we are very much, a lot of us in my position across the state are very much advocates to make sure that they're understanding that these are helping our graduates to be able to be in Texas, to be able to support the care that we're in Texas, and to support that goal of 1 to 1.1 of our residents and graduates. And so we do a very active, proactive work every biennium, and even in that, to make sure we're sustaining that. And actually this year, there'll be an increased ask, and that increased ask seems to be sustainable.
Do you know, does the state make similar grants to other hospitals in the county, or is it just for public hospitals?
Yeah, no, it's for anyone that has a graduate medical education program, so it can go to, it depends on what they want to ask. Not everybody, has asked, but if you do ask, we tend to do that to make sure you've got a program that has the capacity for growth. So you also have to show that you are approved for that from your accrediting body to grow and to have those slots. And so not everybody necessarily gets that approval, but we've gotten that support and approval from our accrediting body. But it is available to any teaching institution in Texas that decides that they want to apply for those grants. Yeah, does that help? Yeah, sure. And then we have recruitment and retention. We'll talk a little bit about that, and research and scholarly activity will highlight those too. So let's talk a little bit more, just to kind of give the fun stuff here. So you often hear me talk about the circle of life. And so the circle of life has continued again, and it goes from July 1st to June 30th for us. So we just actually received our match data for this year, so our incoming class, and so you can see some of the trends here. We like to kind of look who's coming from Texas and who's coming from out of Texas. We continue to see Texas being the majority over the last 3 years of our incoming graduates. And so even of those, we've had some local folks come through, but they're coming from all the different Texas schools.
Is that good or bad?
It may matter. It may matter. One of the things that we do know from the research and the evidence, that those that tend to do their residency tend to stay in the same state. And so there is a 60 to 70% chance that they'll stay in the state that they trained in. And so it's almost this cumulative effect of if they went to school in Texas and they trained in Texas, they'll likely end up practicing in Texas. Yeah. Sure. I'll probably need to just go ahead and break that down and take a look at that. As you know, some don't report though, and so we've kind of focused more in this area, but that's something I can come back to if needed. Okay. We continue to remain accredited, so with continued accreditation, the programs are doing quite well. And so even institutionally too, and so we're very pleased to always make sure that we're reporting very minimal in terms of any citations, and so that's really great to be able to see that and to see our programs flourishing. I do want to highlight one area here. Dr. Russell Wagner, who has been a long time orthopedic surgeon here at JPS and a long time faculty and teacher, and he's program director, is retiring next month. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Dr. Wagner and thank him for his service for all these years and making our orthopedic program so stellar. We also have our academic and hospital partners that help us and actually get great training here also, and also sometimes join our med staff as the future. We count them as our own residents here too, that they get the chance to be with us and rotate here with us. And so these are some of our partners across the area that actually have residents and some faculty experiences. So Baylor All Saints, as you see there, is a newer GME program in the area, but they're coming up almost on their 4th or 5th year of doing this work. So they're a great collaborative partner. Baylor University Medical Center, of course, has been instrumental in us with our level 1 trauma, and 50% of their experiences for their residents are with us. And so that is very critical for us for our trauma services. And then UT Southwestern, of course, we've got a few partners there. Those residents work with us here. And then we've got a few other hospitals that have some rotations here. And then we also have our military residents too in general surgery and oral maxillofacial surgery that have had stellar experiences here too. And that's been a nice medical partnership with the military.
How do we establish these particular partners? And is this list exclusive, or could we add to it, or do we take away from it?
We can do either of those things. We evaluate that too in terms of looking at the performance of how they're doing, the services that they're providing, and looking at those opportunities that what we can do, sometimes even thinking internally versus externally. So it's always something we look at to see what is the value of that and how is it adding value to us. And I think those are the things to make sure it's aligning for us strategically, right? And it's also feasible, and it's also financially in line with what we want to do. So, yes.
How would a new partnership start? Is that another medical university or whatever calls you and says, hey, we have this to offer, or are we out seeking these relationships? Or?
Yeah, we wouldn't necessarily actively seek. I think what we would need to do is internally assess what our needs are. And that's what we kind of do. We talk internally, and of course, I think with the board and the executive team to see what are those services or what are those needs that we're seeing in terms of a need, so that we can be proactive if we are thinking about a partnership or we want to have other academic or hospital partners come to the table. I think we want to assess what our needs are. And I think we want to make sure it aligns with the service needs and the patient and the community needs. So that's the first thing we always do. And that's how we even do some of these areas. And then I think even with some of the other ones coming in, because we may have other, sometimes we do get approached to say, hey, do you have an opportunity there? And sometimes it may be like, okay, let's do, a pilot of maybe having this service rotate. We talk with our chairs, we talk with our leaders to see how the resident relationship and the resident rotation experience can be designed, and if it's helpful. We also have to make sure we address capacity. Sure. And that's something that my team does all the time for students and for residents, because I can't overwhelm the system either. So it is usually an internal kind of capacity. Do we have the capacity for another learner? Do we have the capacity to be able to have them rotate there? Is that something that can be value added to what we're doing now? So those are always conversations I have across the board with all of the leaders, the physician, the service line leaders, our operational leaders, to make sure that we're aligning with the needs there too. And we're not just bringing a learner in that you're like, I can't do that. Sure. But for the broader context of it, I think it really is a strategic decision for us to make, to be able to say, what are our needs and what do we think the added value? And those are things I'm always happy to engage in those conversations.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
And Dr. Elliott, on this chart, can you identify which of the programs are our residents going out, which are their residents coming to see us?
Sure. So our residents can rotate in multiple different areas. It's hard to tell you specifically if they have, because they can also do electives or core rotations. And so there's always an availability. For instance, Baylor All Saints, some of our residents go there, like OBGYN may do some, fertility and things like that when they have to do those types of rotations that they do there. But we do make sure that we have an opportunity. If indeed we wanted to send someone there, there's always that reciprocal opportunity to do that.
I assume when I see family practice, that's our residents.
Where is that? No, the family medicine, no, that's actually family medicine, internal medicine. It's just a few of those residents from Medical City Fort Worth that come here. They may also work with our hospital team or ICU team and get some of those experiences. The gastroenterology fellows from there actually help to really help us with our gastroenterology colonoscopies and all of that there too. So we always want to make sure whatever happens, even coming here, that it's aligned. And if our residents want some of those experiences there too, we're absolutely able to do that.
So this entire chart.
These are residents coming to us. Hope that was helpful. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. All right, I'm going to talk a little bit about our board pass rate. We had a bit of a COVID effect, but we're bouncing back with that and going to be looking at that a little bit more. So we're still waiting for some scores. It's usually kind of a year lag with some folks because they don't offer the certification exam except once per year, and sometimes for some specialties it's not until the fall after they graduate or later, and some of the certifications are 2 parts. So there's a part 1 that's usually a written test, and then there may be a second part even a couple years later, like in orthopedic surgery, where they have 2 or 3 years later, they have a part 2 based on their case logs in practice that they have to bring for an oral. So it's a little bit where we have to kind of sometimes look at that. But what we look at here is first-time takers. So the first-time takers that we're looking at. So overall, overall, we're still institutionally doing quite well at about a 96 96% over the last 5 years. But I will say one of the things, and he's okay for me to say this, I'm Dr. DeMoss, like for instance, psychiatry have had some ups and downs. They've done well, like in 2023, kind of bounced back, did some board review initiatives and strategy. But if you have also a small number taking it, if you had 4 people taking it and 2 didn't pass, that's a 50% pass rate, even though you feel like it's not a large number. But what we want to ensure is 100%, right? And so we're actually going to be doing a special review, very focused on supporting them, making sure that they're really having a strategy and the resources needed to make sure we maintain that. So we continue to look at that, but most of our programs are doing quite well and continue to do well in the board pass rate. And this is something that I talk with every program director about.
If you don't pass the test, what's your next opportunity?
You can take it again, yes. They just have to wait another year to be able to take it again, yes. They're usually, there was an old term called board eligible. They tend not to say board eligible much anymore, but there's usually a period of time that they have anywhere from 5 to 7 years to ensure that they pass. Yes, they are. Absolutely, yes. Most places, yes.
Since he's sitting at the table,
Dr. Casey.
is a very, very
And a graduate.
program director at getting his residents past the board exam, and that is 100% for all those years is a large estimate.
It is a...
It's not 110%, so.
One of the things I'll brag on with Dr. Casey, though, is like, you own that. You own that. That's something that it's him teaching it. And that's one of the things I shared. I think I was telling Dr. Duncan when I was a program director, I came into a program before that was 50% pass rate. And I said, oh, absolutely not. And I'm like Dr. Casey. I said, I'm owning it. And I did the board review. I did everything. I showed up. And I showed up. You had to show up. And Dr. Casey does the same thing. And it's something about that. So we're going to help support our programs to do that. And they're 100% then on every year, 100%. So
How many are in your classes?
24.
How many students?
Few more than the others.
Yeah, he's got 24 per class, 24 per class.
And they all pass.
They pass, yeah.
Your study reviews at 5 a.m. I'm not happy with me at 5 a.m. 5 a.m. is late.
Great job, Dr. Casey.
How's that? Every day.
Awesome job, Dr. Casey. So yeah, I'm probably gonna let him be like big brother to other folks too. That's probably my dude.
Honestly,
Just
you're
like,
my
yeah,
favorite lunch and learn.
yeah. Oh, all right. So this one we like to also highlight are our graduate retention. So this is talking about our graduates, so where they're ending up. And so I like to show this slide usually each year just to show where they are. And this includes some that may stay for fellowship, but it's also just they're in JPS or they're in Tarrant County or the DFW Metroplex. But you see how this reflects also Texas and non-Texas. So it's cumulative. So if you see the JPS, it's 16% of JPS and 8% within Tarrant County. So that's 24% totally in Tarrant County. And then we have, if you add the DFW Metroplex, then you have 31% of them staying in DFW Metroplex. And so as a whole. So, I think we still tend to do fairly well with that. We also track another metric, though, which I think is nice. We track that in collaboration with the medical staff office. And so we also try to see those that come back. So if they trained with us and they got on the, when you approve the credential list, we look at that. If they had graduated within 5 years and they were JPS trained at all anywhere, what percentage of those are coming back within 5 years? And we get about 13% coming back even on that list for 1 year.
That's on top of the 100%.
This is just, that's separate. These are immediate, yeah. So those are, separate, yes.
So you're doubling the numbers.
It's going pretty well. It's really well, and so almost, we're getting there. Yeah. So it's more effort, and I will say it's a great effort in partnership with our physician group partners like Acclaim and IES, and then our local partners here. And of course, I will just point out our program directors and program coordinators are very proactive in making sure that the graduates have an understanding of what the availability of opportunities are. So we're working, yeah. All right. So I will say that just continue our institutional priorities, add in a couple more, and just I'm going to do some highlights here. We always make our goals. So continual readiness is always part of it. So we did have joint commissions that we were part of the continual readiness for joint commissions. So the residents were fantastic in that. But we also have other things that we try to stay continually ready for, and the team does an amazing job of that. So all of our accreditation visits, we still have programs that are always in that window for accreditation visits. We had institutional visits, but we also have clinical learning environment review, which is the review that the ACGME does to come every couple years, every 2 years, to basically say, how are we supporting our residents from a hospital network operational kind of perspective in the clinical learning environment. So we always keep on track with that. We will continue our efforts there. We also, as you were pointing out, always trying to do an assessment of what those programs need to be and what are new programs. As I said, we established a hospice palliative program, we established a child and adolescent psychiatry program, all those things, but we also look for funding, and we do look for sustainability of funding and make sure we're proactive in looking at that. So those are things we continue to explore to make sure that we're working with you all too and with everyone across the network for that. And then, of course, we want to continue to see retention of our graduates in Texas, but particularly JPS, Tarrant County, DFW. So we'll continue those efforts and to track that. And then I always say, that it's important that we have our students actually understand what medicine and nursing and everything else that we do here in healthcare is, and we need to start much earlier. And so one of the dreams, and you've probably seen this each year, is to make sure we have pipeline programs or pathway programs and collaborations with our schools. And so a few years ago during COVID, we started Future Healthcare Heroes in partnership with Fort Worth ISD, where we have a longitudinal program where the students come here and get patient care tech certification, get experiences during their academic year. But this year also, last year, we were able to be awarded a grant from the Office of the Governor in partnership with the Texas Workforce Commission to start our SHINE program. And so our SHINE program, our Students in Healthcare for Individual Empowerment program, and we are welcoming 30 students beginning in June to be here for an 8-week summer paid internship. We had 640 applications for 30 spots and just opening it up for just a couple weeks. And so it was amazing. Got to interview 90 of those after going through the metrics of that. So just really excited to be able to highlight that. So we are applying again for that grant, and so fingers crossed we'll do that and continue that, and we'll be working with our foundation partners too, with Leah King, to be able to look for opportunities to even grow that program. And then our well-being, that is something that our accrediting body ensures that we make sure we keep an eye on, but that's also something that's important for our whole workforce. And so we do things like that in partnership. We do have a new director of interprofessional well-being, Dr. Sarah Palaciano, and she's actually hit the ground running already as of February to be able to continue the efforts that we're working with to support our workforce and our interprofessional workforce and education across the board. All right. Yes. Yes.
I appreciate yours and your team's hard work to grow the GME programs here. We've gone in the last few years from JPS being essentially a sole source of GME in this county to some significant competition. And so we can't rest on our past. We have to keep moving forward. And I appreciate
Thank you. Appreciate that.
It's very important for JPS.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. It's definitely working in my passion each day, and it's really a privilege to be able to do this. And I tell it's like we do this for our patients and our community. It's important, and we've got to make sure. I always tell I'm looking for that person. Dr. Casey, right? We need those people to take our jobs. We need them, and that's why we're committed. I've committed, 26, 27 years to academic medicine. Dr. Casey also, we're coming up on 30 years of doing this, and it's a joy for us to do this. So thank you for the support and backing and to hear those positive words. And we'll continue to look at that and work with this to make sure we're growing this and staying abreast of all the opportunities for our graduate medical education. Thank you. All right, I just want to say a little bit about students, because I love students too. They're part of our pathways here too. So just a reminder, we do have active affiliations, and this is for all of our student experiences across 30+ disciplines. So I always like to tell everybody, across our network, all 7,500 plus employees, you are all teachers. You are all teachers. And so everybody that we engage with and to do this with our learners, you're teaching them how to work within a healthcare team and the importance of each and every one in the healthcare team. So thank you for being teachers. And so these are just some of our local academic partners. It's not an exhaustive list whatsoever, but I just wanted to just highlight that. We have quite a few students, and several of them come through several times. So our overall rotational experiences are over 3,500 experiences annually, and that continues to grow. All right, I'm going to highlight a little bit about our research team. And before I do that, I just want to thank my academic affairs team because they do a remarkable job under Dr. Diana Singer and our director, Caroline Diaz, and they just do a great job across the board from all of our coordinators and all of our program directors and everybody that does the work in academic affairs. I want to just thank them very much. Our research team, I get the pleasure of working with Dr. Melissa Acosta and Dr. Rohit Ojha as they have really expanded and helped us in partnership with me and all of us here to be able to grow research here for our organization. It has significantly grown over the last several years and continues to do so. And one of the things of understanding for research, and many of you may know, is that it takes time to lay that footprint. And so you've got to lay down that reputation, that footprint, so it gives you that opportunity to be able to grow, to be able to seek those grants and those trials, and so that they can see that and do that. And they've done a remarkable job because I think this time next year I'm even going to be able to report even more of what they've been able to do. But we'll highlight a little bit over the last few years as you see here. So one of the things we always want to talk about is our Research and Quality Symposium each year. It becomes even more popular. So even this year we had, it's not up here, but we hope to see you all May 14th at the Riley Center. And it is an incredible event, and it's actually record numbers of submissions this year. So we're looking forward to that, where you'll see poster presentations, rapid fire presentations, all sorts of great things. And it will also be where we'll present our Excellence Awards also there. So as you see there, we've grown significantly. We are a regional symposium, yeah, we're not just local. So yeah, we're getting a lot of partners come through there too. So look forward to hopefully seeing you there. Just wanted to highlight that. And then on the right there, you can see scholarly activities. Scholarly activities continue to be a major part. We have to not only do that, we are a teaching institution and scholarship is important, so that means disseminating your work, right? And so our team supports that in incredible ways to make sure that we're doing the data collections, the analysis, helping with the writing, with all of our teams across the board, and that's critical to be able to do that. And that is a requirement also for our accreditation, as you know. But to be able to do that and highlight JPS nationally, internationally, in publications and in poster presentations across the country, many of our folks are involved with that. So we collect that quarterly to make sure we're showing that. But I just want to say I'm really proud of the team for what they're doing. As you see, there are most prolific departments back last year were family medicine and psychiatry, behavioral health.
What's the difference between a scholarly activity and a publication?
Sure, no problem. We like to just distinguish. So scholarly activity is any form of dissemination of your work. So it can include publications, it can include poster presentations that you were invited and accepted, your abstract was accepted and you went to present that. Or it could also be where you're doing a podium presentation at a conference or something like that too. So there a book chapter, there are multiple different ways that you can have a scholarly activity. Publications, we just take out that subset. It's included in the scholarly activities, but we like to highlight the publications, and those are usually, we're in impact journals. So those are journals that are usually evidence-based journals that are disseminated and recognized either nationally or international journals. Yes, Reverend Emerson. I'm sorry? The one coming up, May 14th? Yes, sir. Yes, May 14th, sir. Yes. Well, yes. Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you. Sure, sure. Absolutely. So we do participate, we do participate in multiple recruiting fairs across the country, not just HBCUs, but everywhere. And so even Dr. Casey, his team, they participate in multiple areas, but all of our programs do that. And institutionally, we also participate in recruiting fairs where the students come, and we also will always have a booth or have something there too. In the past, we've connected with several HBCUs or HSIs, Hispanic Serving Institutions, or other types of institutions to give them if they've had opportunities. Some have rotated even, and so we've gone in the past to places even like Howard and doing things when invited. So if we're invited to different institutions, we do our best to try to make sure we have a recruiting presence there. And then some of the student associations that may also invite us to come and be there too.
When we're not invited, do we ask to be invited?
We have in the past maintained some of those relationships, yes.
That's how I got my wife to marry me.
Yes, Reverend. Yes. Yes, yes, if we're aware of an opportunity, we'll reach out and say, is it a possibility sometime? Yes. We are. Yeah, we are, and we have, historically, yes, we have. And if you have any other thoughts around that, Reverend Emerson, I'm very open to that for sure. And anyone else too. Absolutely. And I can share more with you about those activities if you'd like. Any other questions on? Okay. And we'll make sure that board invitation comes. We would love it. And if you would like to be a judge, please let me know. And I'll let the team know. All right. So one of the other areas that we like to highlight are just our activities on clinical trials and grants. And so we continue to make that impact. And you know, the impact is for our patients, right? Our impact are for our patients, serving them and serving our community in this area. A few years ago, probably going on now 3-4 years ago, Dr. Duncan had tasked our team with kind of centralizing the grant process under our team. And so I want to highlight our grants team, who do an incredible job. They're a mighty team of 3, and they do an incredible job. And so under the leadership of Margie Blake. And so thanks to them, and also with the partnerships around the hospital and the health network, we've definitely seen growth in our grant dollars for sure. And so even to the point now, as you know, with the board directive, we have adopted that as part of our external funding for the AIP, and we work in partnership with Shannon's team and with Leah King's team to make sure that we do that. So that's also very important. And so we also are growing our clinical trials even more so. Even this year, we've got some new things coming on board this next year with some new oncologic trials too. As we said, we've laid the foundation, and now we have some opportunities to serve our patients incredibly well with that. Also with this, we've established a research and grant advisory committee now that's live, that actually has executive members, chairs of departments on this, in partnership with our foundation leadership with Leah King and Dr. Acosta and myself, to basically really get a line of sight of what's going on and what those needs are. And so the Research and Grant Advisory Committee is actually really launched, and has actually had a couple meetings helping us to really think about that direction with this. And we've grown significantly. I will say this, that we've probably seen about over 50% annual growth in our annual total research growth with trials and grants and everything else each year. And you know, industry standard tends to be about 5 to 10%, but our team does a remarkable job of growing. And so more to come on that as we continue to grow. Yeah, no, we have not. And so not at all. We have not. And so the ones that we have are currently still active. If we do receive notification, we would, of course, immediately notify our leadership to make sure that you guys are aware. But nothing that we have so far has been a problem. And we submitted also quite a bit this year, even more so probably than last year, our submissions. So we are awaiting a few of those decisions too. Yeah, good to know. Great question. All right, I think that's my last slide. Okay. Any other questions? Thank you for the support of what we do here, and always happy to be able to answer any other questions you may have. Feel free to reach out. Thank you all.
Thank you, Dr. Elliott. Next, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Just want to make note, again, as DT mentioned, item A, the amount, there's a clerical error there. It's not 33,654,000. It's 3,654,000. That change will be made. The 3,654,000 is what was approved at Planning and Finance.
Did you say $30 million?
You're welcome. That's going to be the headline in the Star Telegram tomorrow. That's great. And then, real quickly, before I call for a motion, Blake asked to have a little bit of introduction and discussion on item F. So, Jill, if you could join us, please.
Hi there. Blake wanted me to talk a little bit about the construction manager at risk for the JPOC construction. I know I talked about it in finance and planning, but I'll add some additional information. Of course, welcome any questions. For those of you who don't know, JPOC 1350 and 1400 is a current building that we have next to the medical examiners, really in between here, the hospital, and our new parking garage. Many of our ambulatory clinics are housed in those buildings, as well as administrative offices. As part of the master facility program, not the budget, but an enabling project for the master facility program, those facilities are being renovated twofold. One is for staging as we're moving people out and moving things around. And then additionally, ultimately, we will be housing many of the administrative areas that support the clinical services. So those clinics will be moved into the new medical outpatient building and will be backfilled with, again, administrative offices that support clinical care. So often when we're in hospital meetings, we'll say, does that need to be in the hospital? Because we know that's the most expensive part of anything that we do. And so those items or those locations, offices, et cetera, get moved out into the JPOC space. Yes, yeah, because again, many clinics are there, so in order to backfill with like physician offices that are here, for example, on the main campus, they'll be located centrally in JPOC so they can go quickly over to the clinics over in the medical outpatient building and then have access to the hospital as well.
When do you think all this work will be done?
This project is over the next 2 years, so.
And that includes construction management fees?
This is construction, yeah. Doesn't include any equipment or like desks, chairs, that sort of thing. This is the construction or renovation. Yes. All right, thank you.
Any other questions? If there's no changes or anything else on the consent agenda, I'll ask for a motion to approve. I've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Great. With no further business, we stand adjourned.